On a sunny summer day, Berry, Dolly, Bubble and Balthazar put on their swimming costumes, grabbed their buckets and spades, and set out for Sand Island to build castles.
Look at this huge watermelon,
Balthazar said in surprise. Oh, let's take it with us, Berry suggested. Then we can all have a feast at the end of the day. Okay, Berry, we'll take it. Berry, Dolly, Balthazar and Bubble carefully rolled the watermelon in front of them as they walked along. But when the friends got to the top of the hill, the round watermelon started to roll away down the slope. Stop it! Dolly shouted to the others. Bubble pounced on the watermelon, but he couldn't stop it. The baby beetle slipped off and bumped his head. The juicy watermelon just carried on rolling down the side of the hill. They all ran after it as fast as they could, but the watermelon was much faster than all of them. Then a terrible thing happened. The watermelon smashed into a sharp rock. Our lovely watermelon smashed into pieces, Dolly moaned.
Oh, the watermelon!
Balthazar was very sad too.
Why are you all complaining? Let's eat it instead,
the baby beetle suggested. So the four friends sat down and started to munch on the watermelon. They ate the sweet red fruit until their tummies were full. We'd better hurry to Sand Island, or there'll be no time left to build sandcastles.
Dolly, wait for me. I'll fly with you,
Balthazar said.
Me too,
Bubble added.
But I can't fly. Are you three going to leave me here?
Berry asked with a sad sob.
Let's build boats out of the watermelon rind. This way Berry can sail to the island with us,
Balthazar suggested. They selected 4 strong pieces of melon rind. 1 for Dolly, 1 for Berry, 1 for Balthazar and 1 for Bubble. They made the masts out of strong branches and the sails out of large leaves. When they were done, they launched the little boats on the water, and the wind quickly carried them away to Sand Island. Hooray! We're sailing, Berry said with an excited squeak. They all got to Sand Island with plenty of time left to play.
Look! Someone's coming! And he's got a bucket in his hand.
Indeed, there was a cheerful beetle walking towards them on the sandy shore. Who are you? Dolly asked. I'm Sean, the sand beetle. I live here and was about to build a sandcastle.
Really?
Balthazar asked.
Can we join you?
Of course you can. Let's all build together, Sean said with joy. The 5 of them built a grand sandcastle with all kinds of tunnels, towers and bridges. Now all it needs is a flag on top, Dolly said. So she drew a picture of Sean on a leaf and stuck it in the very top of the castle. That looks super! Does that mean it's my sandcastle now? Sean said enthusiastically. When the sun went in, Dolly and her friends said goodbye to Sean and headed home. Good night, King of the Castle, Dolly shouted, waving goodbye to their new friend. Harry Hedgehog's birthday. One summer morning, Berry the snail, Dolly the ladybird and their forest friends were playing in the meadow. They were taking turns on the leaf swing. It must be so much fun to play on that swing. It's a shame I'm too heavy for it, Harry Hedgehog sighed. His friends didn't know what to say. It's Harry Hedgehog's 10th birthday next week, the ladybird said.
He'll be 10 years old, the little snail nodded. What do you think he'd like for his birthday? I know,
Balthazar exclaimed and jumped to his feet.
A swing!
That's a super idea. Let's make a big swing for Harry, Dolly said enthusiastically. The little friends got to work immediately. They brought a saw, a hammer, nails and screws and searched for some strong branches. They tied the swing to thick wooden poles with very strong string. When the swing was ready, they all went to Balthazar's house to bake a cake. They cracked eggs and stirred the butter. The mixer whirred away and wooden spoons clattered in bowls. The little bee's kitchen was soon filled with delicious smells. They decorated the cake all over with cherries, raisins and walnuts. Let's put candles on it, Flutter said. Yes, 10 candles, Dolly nodded.
Let's write a letter to Harry, Berry said. Dear Harry, please come to Balthazar's house at lunchtime. We'll all see you there. Can you take it to Harry, please? Berry asked.
But don't say a word about the cake and the swing, Dolly shouted after him. Balthazar and Stanley put the cake on a round table and carried it out of the house. The little ants were playing hide and seek, and suddenly the smallest ant ran right into the table.
You tipped the table over! The cake's ruined!
Balthazar moaned. The cake! What are we going to do now? Dolly sobbed.
Harry Hedgehog will be here any minute and he won't have a cake,
Berry said sadly. The little ants felt very sorry for what they'd done, but one of them had an idea. Let's gather lots of fruit and berries and build a big pile. It'll be almost like a cake, won't it? That's a good idea, Stanley said. I know Harry loves fruit. Berry, Dolly, Balthazar, Stanley and the little ants began to gather fruit in the forest. Eddy the potato beetle, Zephyr the dragonfly and Rosita the rose beetle helped them too. They soon had a very big pile indeed. Stanley stuck 10 candles on top of the fruit, just seconds before Bubble arrived with Harry Hedgehog. Happy birthday, Harry! They all shouted. Wow, look at all that delicious fruit, my favourite. Thank you very much, the hedgehog exclaimed. We've got a surprise for you, Dolly said, and they led Harry to the swing. Harry was very surprised. What a big swing! Can I use it? He asked cheerfully. Yes, we built it for you, Berry replied. Hooray! Now I can swing too! Thank you so much, Harry said thankfully. Then they stood around the fruit pile and began to eat. They ate and ate until nearly all the fruit was gone. They stuck the leftover apples and pears on Harry's spikes, and he took them home to his mossy house. Harry went to bed with a happy smile and looked forward to tomorrow, when he'd swing with his friends again.
June, the Lily Fairy. One summer morning, Flutter the butterfly girl woke in a bad mood. All she could think about was where she had put the purple glitter pen that she had borrowed from Dolly. And she was also sad because of her giant daisies that were wilting in the sunshine. First I'll bake an apple pie for Bubble for tomorrow. Then I'll look for the pen. And after that I'll water my flowers, Flutter decided. While the pie was baking, Flutter made a jug of custard to go with it. But her cooking did not go well, and the pie crumbled into pieces. Then she heard a loud smashing sound. She hurried outside, and saw that one of her shutters had fallen off. "Oh, and this as well!" she shouted and began to cry. Then she heard the sound of quiet humming coming from the lilies. "Oh, goodness! Hello, little lily fairy. My name's Flutter." But the fairy did not respond. "I'm happy you're here, but sadly I'm not in a very good mood today," Flutter sniffled. And as she was talking, she accidentally knocked the jug over and custard spilt into the pie dish. "Great! Now the pie will be fine. I'll just have to serve it with a spoon," she smiled. She was so happy that she grabbed the tiny fairy and spun around on the spot with her. As she spun, she knocked over the spade that was leaning against the wall. She bent over to pick the spade up, but the lily fairy pointed directly at the daisies. "You think I should dig them up?" "Very well, I'll try." She soon dug down to the roots where she found a green grub. "So you're the one little grub making my daisies droop. Go and chew on something else." Then Flutter reburied the daisy roots. She watered them well, and they soon began to straighten their stems. She suddenly saw something twinkle in the soil. "I found the screw that fell out of my window." As quick as a flash, they screwed the shutter back into place. "It's fixed," she said, and went back into the house again. Flutter placed the lily fairy on the table and accidentally knocked a string of pearls off the cupboard. So she got down on her knees to pick up the scattered pearls. Then she had a super surprise. She brushed under the cupboard and accidentally found the purple pen she thought was lost forever. "Hooray! I sorted my pie, cured my daisies, I fixed the window, and now I found the pen!" She laughed with delight. "You see, there was no need to sob," said the lily fairy from nowhere. "You can talk?" Flutter asked with surprise. "Yes, but there was no need until now, because you put everything right on your own." "Not on my own, with your help. I'm so happy that you're here. Everybody is going to Bubbles' house tomorrow, and I'll introduce you to all of them," Flutter enthused. "I won't be here tomorrow," the fairy told her. "I'll wake up in a different lily, where someone is sad and needs me." "Please stay," Flutter pleaded, and she took the lily fairy in her hand. The fairy smiled warmly at the butterfly girl, and then suddenly turned into fairy dust and floated up into the night sky. The next day, Flutter could hardly wait to tell the others about the lily fairy. "It's a shame we couldn't meet her," said Balthazar. "Maybe she'll pay you a visit one day," Flutter smiled. January. Eddy and the toy car. The new year had arrived at last. The little friends were all at Stanley's house. The stag beetle proudly showed his friends the new toy cars he'd been given for Christmas. "The silver dump truck is my favourite. It's got big wheels, it goes fast, the doors open, and you can tip the back up and down," he said with a smile. "Let's build a track and drive all the cars around it," Eddy suggested. When the track was finished, they drove all the toy cars on it. Eddy really wanted to try the silver dumper truck, but Berry wouldn't let it go. When he eventually got bored, Leapy pounced on the super truck. Then Dolly took it after Leapy. Eddy only managed to get his hands on Stanley's dumper truck for a few minutes at the end of the day. He pushed it so hard that it rolled under the cupboard. Eddy reached under the cupboard to pull it out, but the wheel got stuck behind the cupboard leg and it fell off. Eddy tried to push it back on, but it wouldn't turn after that. It started to get dark and the friends were getting tired. Eddy dared not tell the stag beetle that the dumper truck's wheel was broken. Instead, he put it back with all the other toy cars as if nothing had happened. They all said goodbye to Stanley and went home. Eddy soon got back to his house, but he could not get to sleep. He felt very bad about the dumper truck. He woke the next morning to the sound of shouting. Stanley was having an argument with Berry on the hill nearby. "Berry, you've broken my toy car." "It wasn't me. There was nothing wrong with it when I gave it to Leapy," the snail boy responded, sounding a little offended. "Then I'll ask Leapy." "Leapy, did you break the wheel on my dumper truck?" "No, of course not. It wasn't me," the grasshopper girl assured him. "I gave it to Dolly. Ask her," Leapy suggested. And so the stag beetle set off to the ladybird girl's house. Eddy felt terrible because he was the one who'd broken the wheel on the dumper truck. Then he had an idea. He had an old and bashed up dumper truck a lot like Stanley's. He found it and hurried over to Flutter's house. "Flutter, you've got some silver paint, haven't you?" "The silver's run out, but I've got some gold." "Please help me," the potato beetle said, and he told Flutter the whole story. Flutter was happy to help. She painted the toy car and it soon shined as bright as new. "Thank you, Flutter," said Eddy, and he set off to give the reborn dumper truck to Stanley. When he arrived at Stanley's house, he was greeted by the sound of loud laughter. "Did you manage to fix it?" "Yes, I bumped into Charlie at Dolly's house and I asked him to lend me a hand," Stanley said with a smile. "Unfortunately, I never found out who broke the wheel." "It was me," Eddy told him. "I'm happy you managed to mend it, but I've brought you something too." "Oh, that's super!" "Thank you," Stanley laughed. "I'm not angry anymore. Do you want to join us? We're going to race with the toy cars." And the three boys set about building a track for the race.
Starship. It was Christmas Day and Berry, Dolly, Balthazar, Flutter, Stanley and Bubble were walking home after playing snowballs. "Let's all go to my house and we can decorate the little Christmas tree in my garden." "What a lovely idea!" the others all cheered. In the meantime, Flutter had an idea and she whispered it into Dolly's ear. "That's not fair. Don't keep secrets."
Yes, tell us too. It's mean to keep secrets.
"Oh, it's not that sort of secret. In fact, it's not a secret at all." "Then tell us what it is." "We can't tell you because it's going to be a surprise. I've got to go now because of the surprise, but I'll be back soon." Dolly put a plate of fresh fruit bread on the table, and the little friends all tucked into a feast.
It's really delicious,
said Berry with a smile. Dolly then produced coloured paper, scissors, glue and ribbons and put them on the table. Everyone got quickly to work. They cut star, moon, heart and flower shapes out of the paper and threaded them onto a long ribbon. Flutter returned just as it was getting dark.
"Now tell us what the secret is,"
Balthazar said. "No, I still can't tell you," the butterfly girl said secretively. I'm going to go home in that case.
All right, we'll decorate the little Christmas tree outside and then I'll tell you everything, okay?
OK, the boys all agreed. They took the ribbon outside and carefully wound it around the little Christmas tree.
It looks lovely,
Bubble whispered sweetly. They all gathered around the tree and began to sing.
Little Christmas, lovely Christmas, little Christmas, lovely Christmas.
Look, what's that light high up in the sky?
Maybe it's a comet,
said Bubble. But they didn't have to guess any longer because the light began to descend and they could see it was a star house. And there, waving to them from the window, was their old friend, the Star Girl. So that was the secret, Stanley cheered. But how did you manage to invite her here?
I flew up to the moon and asked it to look for the Star Girl,
Flutter told him. Just then the Star Girl opened up a bag and twinkling stars flew out. First the stars danced around the Christmas tree. Then they flew high up into the night sky before coming back down to the ground and clustering together to make a starship with a long staircase at the front. The friends carefully climbed up into the starship. The Star Girl began to strum on her harp, and the starship flew up and around the whole forest. They all had a super view of all the houses down on the ground, and they even saw Harry Hedgehog's house, with him inside sleeping his way through the chilly winter.
It's so beautiful,
Balthazar said dreamily. They eventually landed back outside Dolly's house. The Star Girl bowed politely and waved to show that she had to be off on her way. Dolly suddenly had a super idea. She flew up to the top of the Christmas tree, took the pretty ribbon off and placed it on top of the star house. The harp music made the star house slowly lift off the ground.
That really was a super surprise, Flutter,
Bubble said. We'll never forget this Christmas night, Stanley announced to all. Fairy cards. Flutter the Butterfly Girl had a favourite card game. There were 16 cards in total, with pictures of pretty fairies in yellow, dark blue, pink, green, orange, red, purple and light blue dresses. No two cards were alike. The girls played with their fairy memory cards all the time. Stanley the Stag Beetle thought of a horrid joke to play. I could scribble on all the cards, he thought naughtily to himself, but he didn't dare do it. And so he tried to talk Balthazar into ruining the pretty cards. Balthazar, wouldn't it be funny to scribble all over Flutter's cards? The silly bumblebee gave a sneaky snigger and started to scribble on the cards with a dark green felt-tip pen. He drew moustaches, devil's horns, forks, and a devil's tail on the pictures of the pretty fairies. The Butterfly Girl saw her cards that afternoon and screamed in horror. What happened to my lovely cards? She asked in a panicky voice, and Flutter began to sob. What a horrid thing to do! Who could have done such a thing? Dolly asked, sounding terribly shocked.
I know who did it. Balthazar's the only one with a dark green pen,
Zephyr said in an angry tone.
And I saw a green mark on his hand. Did you do this?
Berry asked gruffly.
That's not how it happened.
Then how did it happen?
It's all Stanley's fault. It was his idea.
But I didn't scribble all over the cards. Flutter sobbed and Reggie Squirrel gave her a comforting cuddle. The one who thought it up is naughty and the one who did it, Reggie Squirrel snapped strictly. You're both naughty.
That was a really stupid joke, boys. Just imagine if we burst your football, Zephyr added. How sad would that make you feel?
You're right, Stanley admitted. Flutter, we'll take your cards and see if we can get the scribbles off them. OK?
OK,
sniffed the butterfly girl. Stanley and Balthazar strolled sadly home and got straight to work trying to fix the cards they had scribbled all over. But the harder they tried, the more mess they made. The rubber made a hole in the paper and holes appeared all over the place.
Berry, help! We couldn't rub the scribbles off and we've made a hole with all the rubbing. That's because you can't rub felt tip pen out. Let's go and ask Dolly for help.
Dolly, help! We can't fix the cards.
I'm not going to help you. It was all your idea, so you have to put it right. Don't be so unfair. Please help, because Stanley and Balthazar really do want to make things better again. OK, come on in.
The three boys sat down at the table.
They can't be fixed.
The boys just sat and looked sad.
We have to think of something else, and I've already got an idea. Let's make new cards.
Dolly placed pieces of white card on the table and took out her felt tip pens. The boys cut the cards out and Dolly tried to copy the fairy pictures. Then Balthazar and Stanley carefully coloured the drawings in. All 8 fairies were soon ready, and of course there were 2 of each. You draw so nicely, Dolly.
Now give them to Flutter and say that you're sorry. Flutter, look! We've made you a whole new set of cards.
Dolly drew them and we coloured them in.
Please be friends with us again.
Flutter flicked through all the cards and a smile spread across her face.
Thank you,
she said and invited the boys into the house. They were soon joined by Berry, Dolly and Zephyr, and the friends played until late with the new pack of cards. And they were all the best of friends once again. Pebbles. One sunny summer afternoon, Dolly decided to cook a strawberry cake. She asked Stanley the stag beetle and Balthazar the bee to go and collect wild strawberries in the forest. The 2 boys set off. Balthazar soon spotted a pebble in the middle of the path, and he started to kick it along. But Stanley also liked the look of the pebble, and he tackled it off Balthazar.
That's not fair, Stanley. I found it. I want to kick it down the path.
It's my pebble now. Find another pebble to kick.
But I found it, so it's mine,
Balthazar moaned. There are loads of pebbles. Find another one, Stanley said, trying to close the argument. But Balthazar wouldn't leave it at that. He pushed Stanley out of the way so that he could kick the pebble. The 2 of them continued to push and shove until they both tumbled down the hill into the babbling brook. Alfonso the cricket came out of his house to see what all the noise was about. What's going on? He asked.
It's all Stanley's fault. He took my pebble.
It wasn't your pebble. I was just a better kicker. That's enough of that, Alfonso interrupted. Come inside, get dry, and then tell me all about what started this silly argument. The 2 boys muttered to themselves as they followed the cricket into his little house. They hung their wet clothes out in the hot sun and sat wrapped in towels while they waited for them to dry. Alfonso gave them both a glass of lemonade and a biscuit. The sun's warm rays soon dried the clothes. Stanley and Balthazar munched sulkily on their biscuits. They told Alfonso all about what had happened and how they had rolled down the hill into the brook. I've got a whole collection of pebbles.
Pebbles? Can we have a look?
Balthazar enthused. Of course, Alfonso said with a proud smile, and he placed a large box on the table. Where did you find all these lovely pebbles? Stanley asked. Down by the brook. You can collect some too if you like. They filled their baskets with pebbles. They sat sorting them and organising them until it started to get dark. The little stag beetle and the bee boy said goodbye to their cricket friend and started to walk back up the hill. They soon came to Dolly's house. The little ladybird girl shouted angrily out of the window. "Where are the strawberries?" "Oh dear.
The strawberries.
We forgot the strawberries."
Dolly, look at the lovely pebbles we collected with Alfonso.
"What am I supposed to do with them? Make pebble cakes? I asked for strawberries." "But we forgot," Stanley admitted, and he told her the whole long story. "Well, I see. Let me have a look at those pebbles if you didn't bring any strawberries." "We should paint something on them. This one looks just like a little house. And this one, I might paint a smiley face on it."
That's a super idea. We can invite the others and spend all day painting pebbles.
Great! The next morning, Berry the little snail boy arrived at Dolly's house with Flutter the butterfly, Zephyr the dragonfly, Leapy the grasshopper, Eddy the potato beetle and Bubble the baby beetle.
Where are Stanley and Balthazar? Berry asked with a disappointed sigh.
"Here we are," the stag beetle and the bee boy announced, and they proudly presented Dolly with a big basket of strawberries. "Oh, thank you," the little ladybird girl said, and she mixed the cake while the others got to work painting the pebbles. When they had finished, they invited Alfonso to come and see their exhibition. "They all look really good. I'll bring my pebbles tomorrow and we can paint them too," the cricket told his friends. When the strawberry cake was ready, they all sat around the table and ate every last crumb. The Snowman. One cold winter morning, Berry the snail knocked on Dolly's front door.
Let's go and play with my sledge in the snow.
Dolly quickly put on her winter coat and her hat, scarf and gloves. She sat on the sledge and the little snail pulled her along. Eventually, the snow stopped. Berry and Dolly enjoyed the winter sunshine. They sledged down the steep side of the hill.
Look at that super snowman,
Berry shouted.
Oh dear, we're going to hit it.
But it was too late. The sledge ran right into the snowman that stood at the foot of the hill. "Did you hurt yourself?" Berry asked Dolly.
No, I didn't, but I think we've ruined the snowman.
"Yes, it tipped right over," Berry said. "I'm going to eat its carrot nose."
Let's have a snowball fight with the snow from the snowman.
Berry and Dolly started to throw snowballs. It was a lot of fun. Soon there was almost nothing left of the snowman. Just then, Balthazar the bee appeared and said hello to his friends.
Do you want to throw snowballs with us?
I'm too busy. I've brought a hat and a scarf to put on my snowman I built yesterday. Haven't you seen it?
Berry and Dolly looked at each other.
Oh dear,
Berry whispered.
Balthazar must be looking for the snowman we hit.
They didn't dare tell Balthazar that they'd knocked his snowman over.
No, we haven't seen a snowman.
I can't find my snowman anywhere.
Berry and Dolly felt very sorry for the little bee.
Don't be sad,
Berry said finally.
Let's build a new one.
Okay,
Balthazar sniffled. Dolly made the biggest snowball. It went on the bottom. Balthazar made the middle one for the snowman's tummy. And Berry made the smallest snowball for the snowman's head. Then Dolly lifted Berry up so he could stick the head on top. Then the snowman was finished, and Balthazar could finally put the stripy scarf around its neck. Berry took a big jump and put the red saucepan on its head for a hat.
Hey, it looks really super!
Balthazar said enthusiastically.
Balthazar, we've got something to tell you. We smashed your first snowman. We slid right into it with our sledge. It was an accident.
What? It was you?
Balthazar was very surprised, but then he soon forgave his friends.
This snowman looks much better than the first one,
he declared.
Come on, let's sledge down the hill together.
Berry, Dolly and Balthazar played with the sledge until it got dark, and were very careful not to hit their new snowman.